Good morning. Welcome to First Parish Brewster. We are, as always, a Unitarian Universalist welcoming congregation of people of diverse philosophies and beliefs, people of various cultures and races, sexual orientations, gender identities, abilities, and socioeconomic backgrounds. So whoever you are, wherever you are on your path, may this be a place of rest and restoration on your journey. For those of you who may be first-time visitors this morning, welcome on this morning which we make sacred by our presence together. Let's join as well in greeting everyone on the virtual stream. We're glad that you're here. Our services are recorded and available on our YouTube channel midweek. I am Reverend Bran Lennox, the lead minister here at First Parish Brewster, and I go by gender-neutral pronouns like they and them. I am honored to be welcoming you to the service this morning with our worship associate, Tom O'Brien, our director of Lifespan Religious Education, Twinks Hastings, and our music director, Kevin Bedanis. At this time, our masking policy is that speakers may temporarily remove their masks while at the pulpit to increase accessibility for those with hearing difficulties, but otherwise, all over the age of 4 must continue to wear a mask over their nose and mouth while in our buildings. In order to give the best welcome that we can give, please wear your name tag or fill out a sticker name tag by the hall entrance. We welcome the noises, movements, and mirth that little ones bring in our services. Please take this moment, however, to check that your cell phone is on silent. In community news announcements, we are in need of 4 volunteers who are capable of lifting some weight together safely for a brief special project today after the service, across the street at Winslow House. If you are able and willing, please find Elenita after the service. Elenita, could you make yourself known with the wonderful peace sign mask there? Please join me and Twinks Hastings on Tuesday, April 12th at 6 p.m. for a special Vespers service honoring the difficult journeys of all who have struggled with infertility, miscarriage, complicated abortion, and infant loss. Join us in person or via live stream. The details are in the weekly angle. The thrift store is entering the busy season and they are in need of volunteers. Can you commit 2.5 hours or more per week? Then please get in touch with Celine. Next Sunday, myself and worship associate Elenita will offer a Palm Sunday service exploring what it means to venture outside of our comfort zones. All are welcome online and in person next Sunday at 10 a.m. Welcome once more to our service today. It is so good to be together.
I used to think that prayers were meant for asking, a plea for some solution from beyond. On my knees expecting a restitution, like a pebble turned to ripples in a pond. But the answer always came back entangled, like some vines growing up a hollow tree. Now I know that looking up in wonder is what a prayer's supposed to be for me. I'm getting closer, closer every day to the river flow within the river flow. I'm getting closer, closer every day, closer to the things that we know. could not seek or find the words to say. So I'm on the road from race to revelation, from destination to this very day. I'm getting closer, closer every day to the river flow, within the river flow. I'm getting closer, closer every day, closer to the things I do not know. Searching seeds will float down from the mountains, some to sink and others to decay. But in their company, a few survivors will ride those rapids to their only way. I'm getting closer, closer every day to the river flow, within the river flow. I'm getting closer, closer every day, closer to the things I do not know.
Thank you. Thank you, David. So today we're exploring what it means to become a whole person. And I'm wondering, can you hear me okay? Is that better? All right. So I'm wondering, can you recall your earliest memory? My first memory stretches back in time to when I'm a baby in a carriage. And I'm waking up, and this is before I had words. I only had sensations, impressions. And in fact, I was feeling very cozy. It probably was winter. I can say that now because I remember this memory. And I was in a carriage with bundles of blankets and clothes, and the sun was pouring on my face. It felt very warm. But I couldn't even see. The sun was so blinding, it just kept me from opening my eyes. But there was a marvel to this experience. I was feeling this great connection. I'm using words that came later on. So frankly, what I'm saying now is not what I thought then, because I didn't think. I was feeling. So I've given words to this impression over the years because ironically, this memory would pop up like every 5 or so years, almost as if it was reminded me of something that I needed to remember. So on reflecting about my journey, this was where I thought I should start. So my internal feelings were blissful. There was no separation. In fact, as I reflected on it, it seemed like I was becoming the sunshine. It was like a rapture. My whole body was relaxed. My little baby body was just feeling like there was nothing wrong in the world. I felt whole. It felt wonderful. But as I grew up, life's journey became more complex. Over the years, I wondered, why did this happy memory keep coming back to me every so often? This gave me pause. And now, let us take a pause to light the chalice in honor of all our journeys. I will return later to my journey in the second part of my sharing a few minutes later.
Every year on March 31st, people around the world celebrate the Transgender Day of Visibility. This day is dedicated to celebrating the accomplishments of transgender and gender nonconforming people while raising awareness of the work that still needs to be done to achieve gender justice. The day was founded by transgender activist Rachel Crandall in 2009 as a counterpart to the annual Transgender Day of Remembrance, to provide a balance to the mourning by celebrating the lives and courage of transgender people. This year, President Joe Biden released a proclamation on Transgender Day of Visibility. It was a message of affirmation and acceptance, which is deeply meaningful to the transgender community, especially from someone in such a powerful political office. Let me read some of this proclamation to you now. To everyone celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility, I want you to know that your president sees you. The First Lady, the Vice President, the Second Gentleman, and my entire administration sees you for who you are, made in the image of God and deserving dignity, respect, and support. On this day and every day, we recognize the resilience, strength, and joy of transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people. We celebrate the activism and determination that have fueled the fight for transgender equality. We acknowledge the adversity and discrimination that the transgender community continues to face across our nation and around the world. In the past year, hundreds of anti-transgender bills in states were proposed across America, most of them targeting transgender kids. The onslaught has continued this year. These bills are wrong. Efforts to criminalize supportive medical care for transgender kids, to ban transgender children from playing sports, and to outlaw discussing LGBTQI+ people in schools undermine their humanity and corrode our nation's values. Studies have shown that these political attacks are damaging to the mental health and well-being of transgender youth, putting children and their families at greater risk of bullying and discrimination. He continues, on this Transgender Day of Visibility, we honor transgender people who are fighting for freedom, equality, dignity, and respect. We also celebrate the parents, teachers, coaches, doctors, and other allies who affirm the identities of their transgender children and help these young people reach their potential. Transgender people are some of the bravest Americans I know, and our nation and the world are stronger, more vibrant, and more prosperous because of them. To transgender Americans of all ages, I want you to know that you are so brave, you belong, I have your back. As a transgender person myself, even as I recognize all the work still to be done, these words strike me deeply. So in honor of the courage and solidarity of the trans people in this congregation, the love shown by members of this congregation to trans family members and friends, and with compassion for those who are still discovering their gender identity or for whom it is unsafe to live their truth, I offer these words from Reverend Sharon Wiley to call us into sacred space together. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you, every part of you beautiful just the way you are. Here you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. Nothing to prove here. Nothing to prove to me or the person sitting next to you or to the children or anyone. You don't have to try and be witty or more quiet or more outgoing. You are beautiful, every part of you, beautiful just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful, just the way you are. You are extraordinary, each and every one of you different from each, and beautiful in your own way. Breathtaking. Let us shine together.
Please rise in body and or spirit, and we sing This Little Light of Mine, 118. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the world, all around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Amen. Please be seated.
I'm going to invite any of our children up, or any of our young at heart people up, or anyone who wants a front row seat. Come on up. Once upon a time, or not so long ago, in a community much like ours, Billy went to visit his friend who was in hospital. Billy's friend had a surgery that left them unable to do some of the things their body used to do. Billy knew their friend, let's call them Pinks, was kind of bummed out about it. But Billy had an idea.
Hey, Pinks, how are you doing?
Oh, Billy, I'm so happy to see you. I've been missing my friends, especially you, because you're always willing to go on crazy adventures with me. But I'm also kind of sad to see you, because I'm learning that my body is not going to be working like it used to, at least for a while, or who knows how long. And I'm wondering what that means, as I won't be as fun anymore, and no one is gonna want to hang out with me anymore. And that's why I didn't call you back, or text you, or FaceTime you, or Snapchat you, or gram you. But I'm glad to be home, I guess.
Oh, Pinks, I'm so sorry that you were worried about that, because we all missed you. It was really hard to visit while you were so far away in the hospital. And then you had all of those weird infection protocols, and that was kind of scary. And then you weren't returning our texts, and we all got worried. But all of our friends can't wait to hang out again.
I don't think so, Billy, because my body can't even process its own B12 anymore, which I guess is this vitamin, and I have to learn how to give myself shots every week. And don't you think that's kind of gross? Because I do.
I mean, I can't lie, that doesn't sound so great, but remember that Jane has to do shots every day, and we still hang out with her. So give me another reason why we won't hang out with you.
Well, I can't swim this summer because I'm going to have wounds that are open and gross, and I'm going to need to be kept clear from infection, and swimming is sort of what we do all summer long. And there's the fact that I can't walk without pain anymore, so I'm kind of slow. And I don't think I'll be able to walk the 16 miles a day required for our Disney trip. And no one wants to just sit at home all the time with me, because honestly, I'm a little cranky, and I cry a lot too, because it's sad not being able to do all the things I want to do.
Listen, Pinks, I hear you. This is a lot. And I'm your best friend. Do you trust me?
I mean, I do, but you can't fix this for me. Any of it.
You don't need to be fixed. Just trust me.
And the next morning, a card was delivered to Pinks. Dear Pinks, You're invited to attend your happy body party. Please select from the following options. Would you like 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 or more guests? Would you like to stay in bed for the party, move to the couch, go outside, or have a change of scene? Parade, yes or no? Pink smiled like they hadn't in a long time. And Billy created the most perfect celebration for Pinks. Her friends came and brought her a little boat so Pinks could be out on the water with them all summer, but she could stay dry. And an electric scooter so she could use it to hike along with them. But the best gift of all was Pink's understanding that her friends loved her and accepted her body, energy, and whole self, no matter what. Pinks was still able to party hard, even from the couch. And with that, we'll sing our children out.
Children, may you go now in peace. Children, may you go now in joy. Love surrounds you on your way.
So the journey continues. As I grew up, I had a loving family, and I grew up in Brooklyn, so there were lots of kids around. So play, fantasy, riding bikes, playing sports, they were all part of my early childhood. And so the fundamental themes was love, acceptance, and fun. Most of these activities were enjoyable. And even going to school was pretty good for the first few years. And so I mainly had a good childhood. But another theme began to emerge. And this was the theme of self-doubt. Was I going to be as smart as all the other boys or other kids? And was I going to be on the teams that I wanted to be on? Well, sometimes it was yes, sometimes it was no. And when this kind of thinking took hold, I didn't feel as whole as I did as a baby. Well, years went on, and as a teenager, I got involved with lots of different activities that I could be moving. I was a runner, I was a hiker, I was a swimmer, and I became a surfer. And these were all things that gave me great joy. But a reluctance to be vulnerable was kept up for the ensuing years. And I realized by college that this was part of my persona, to not go beyond certain boundaries. I assumed a look of confidence and strength and intelligence, but I wondered, who am I really? Thus began a quest for authenticity, which eventually took me to live in a yoga community in the early 70s. Communes were big then, and so I joined a communal situation. There was naturally an urge just to be myself, but some secrets were kept hidden. One such theme was sexuality. The yoga community encouraged celibacy, so I suppressed my libidinal urges and conformed to this concept of celibacy. I suppressed my libidinal longings. And I thought this was the higher ground. If I was really going to fulfill my life, this was, to me, the greatest fulfillment, to become a yogi. Well, I continued this way for years. Actually went to live in India. But something happened that was a big surprise. I fell in love, and I fell in love with another man. This was not what I expected. But it did happen, and so I had to learn to accept myself, and finally left and came back to the US. It took a few years to meet the person who changed my life most dramatically, and that was my partner, Rudy. We met in 1983 and fell in love, and we created a relationship that lasted until his departure in 2018. This relationship helped both of us to become more whole, both as individuals and with our communities. It meant coming out. It meant relating to people as a gay couple. But it actually helped us to really become more of who I really am and who he really was. This was taking steps towards wholeness. And this brought us both closer together in a life that was more holistic. So this pursuit of wholeness really never ends. It continues. And so while this journey is continuing, new challenges crop up. And this is true for all of us. And most of us can agree that life's challenges sometimes are not easy. So being a widower is one such example, which brings struggles and surprises. But these shocks and surprises happen to everyone. Our self-acceptance is a choice. It's a journey we are all invited to take. It begins whenever we choose to embrace our whole self, both our strengths and our limitations, our frailties and our gifts. We are invited to permanently rigid parts that are at war with one another. This takes patience and courage. Well, how else are we going to integrate these various parts of ourselves into a whole? And our wholeness, I believe, is truly the sum or greater than the sum of our parts. Here and now, I'm grateful to share this part of my personal journey, and this is ongoing, and welcome all of you present here to embrace your journey, the whole person that you truly are. By so doing, we all benefit.
And now we join together in prayer. We are praying today for all of those impacted by ongoing violent conflict globally. We pray that someday soon their struggle may be over and peace may be restored. We pray for justice for all persons marginalized and persecuted, and we pray for healing for people compelled to commit violence.
Please join me in a hum.
For the people of North Korea and South Korea in the Korean conflict. For the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo in the Lord's Resistance Army insurgency. For the internal conflict in Peru. For the people of Artsakh, Azerbaijan, and Armenia in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. For the people of Angola in the Cabinda War. For those impacted by Kurdish separatism in Iran. For the people of Morocco and the Sahrawi Republic in the Western Sahara conflict. For the South Thailand insurgency. For the Sinai insurgency in Egypt. For the people of Senegal in the Casamance conflict. For the Katanga insurgency in the Democratic Republic of Congo. For the people of Mexico in the Chiapas conflict. For those impacted by the ISIL insurgency in Tunisia. For the insurgency in Paraguay. For all impacted by the Indo-Pakistani wars. For the people of the Philippines in the Moro conflict. For the people of Indonesia in the Papua conflict. For the Kurdish-Turkish conflict. For the people of Pakistan in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa insurgency. For those impacted by the communist rebellion in the Philippines. For those involved in the insurgency in northeast India. For the Philippine drug war. For the Libyan crisis. For the Israeli-Palestinian crisis. For the people of Pakistan and Iran and the insurgency in Balochistan. For the people of India in the Naxalite Maoist insurgency. For the Sudanese conflict in South Kordofan and Blue Nile. For the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon. For the insurgency in Egypt. For the people of Ethiopia in the Benishangul Gumuz conflict. For the conflict in the Niger Delta. For those impacted by the Bangladesh drug war. For the Afar-Somali clashes in Ethiopia. For the insurgency in northern Chad. For the people of Somalia and Kenya in the Somali Civil War. For the Syrian Civil War. For those impacted by ethnic violence in South Sudan. For the people of Nigeria, Cameroon, Niger, and Chad in the Boko Haram insurgency. For the Iraqi conflict. For the war in Darfur. For the people of Colombia and Venezuela in the Colombian conflict. For the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo in the Ituri conflict. For those impacted by the Mexican drug war. For the people of Algeria, Burkina Faso, Chad, Libya, Mali, Niger, Tunisia, Togo, Benin, and the Ivory Coast in the insurgency in the Maghreb. For the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, and Burundi in the Kivu conflict. For the communal conflicts in Nigeria. For the Mali War. For those impacted by the Nigerian bandit conflict. For the Central African Republic Civil War. For those impacted by the Allied Democratic Forces insurgency in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. For the people of Mozambique and Tanzania in the insurgency in Cabo Delgado. For the people of Ethiopia in the Oromo conflict. For all those impacted by the Afghanistan conflict. For the internal conflict in Myanmar. For the Yemeni crisis. For the people of Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Sudan in the Tigray War. And for the people of Russia and Ukraine in the escalating Russo-Ukrainian war. $46,000 lives lost to war so far in 2022. And countless others impacted with suffering and devastation. This is so much to hold, and yet we hold it in our hearts today. We lift up all this pain and injustice, and we offer our commitment to making the world more peaceful, more equitable, and more whole in all the tiny ways we each can. May we be reminded always that none of us are free until we all are free. With the divine, together, our individual sparks of commitment join into a flame that burns as a bright beacon of hope. May tomorrow dawn as brightly, and may we find the patience and strength in our hearts to continue this work of justice and peace until the day that peace is found. Amen.
We now have a poem by Rumi. Rumi was a 13th century mystical poet, originally from Afghanistan, but he moved around the Persian Empire of his day. The poem's entitled The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Each week we have the practice of splitting our offertory plate. Half of what is collected goes to the work of First Parish, and the other half goes to a worthy organization nominated by someone in the congregation. Today, our split plate goes to Preserve Our Cape Cod Aquifer, or POCCA, whose mission is to educate residents, businesses, and public agencies of Cape Cod on how to keep our drinking water safe by eliminating the use of hazardous chemicals in our environment. There are a couple of different ways you can give today. You can text to give, the number is in your order of service, or you can put a check or cash in the offering basket, or for those streaming in, you can donate on our website. However you choose to give today, your generosity is truly appreciated. The offering will now be gratefully received.
I came for inspiration, came looking for grace, and saw my reflection in every passing face, and everyone who gathered, standing on their shores, searching the horizon, not sure exactly what it's for. Searching the horizon for what we can't quite see, when all we've ever needed has been there all along inside of you and me. Wanna see you holding out your light, I wanna see you find your way, whether everything will be alright, it's just a little soon to say. I didn't find much wisdom, and time was on my side. Too little information, too much time to decide. I took a couple wrong turns, it only takes you one to send you down a lifetime, wondering what you could have done. Searching for a lifetime for what we want to see, when all we've ever needed has been there all along inside of you and me. I wanna see you holding out your light, I wanna see you find your way, beyond the sirens of our broken nights, beyond the sickness of our days. With all we come to live with, I wanna know that you're okay. You gotta think it's gonna be alright, just a little soon to say. I came for inspiration, came looking for truth, joined in celebration of the passing of my youth. We're here but for a moment, none of us can see beyond that horizon what kind of world this world will be. Searching the horizon for what we hope to see, all we've ever needed has been there all along inside of you and me. I wanna see you holding out your light, I wanna see you find your way, whether everything will be alright, just a little soon to say. I wanna think it's gonna be alright, just a little soon to say.
You may have noticed over the past few months that some weeks I use a cane to stand or to walk. People tend to have strong reactions to this because I'm not what most people picture when they imagine what a disabled person looks like, whatever that means. I have a genetic condition called Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome that causes problems with the collagen in my body. In plain English, my joints are too loose. It's painful, and sometimes I need help getting around. While occasionally people react in awful ways, like the person who was really nice to me when she met me the first time and then got furious with me when she saw me walking without the cane later, for the most part, I recognize that people are trying their best to balance curiosity and sympathy in a socially acceptable way. The woman who caught me on my way out the door on a Thursday night was one such well-meaning individual. I was making my escape from the social hour after a weeknight gathering when she intercepted me. I was out of social energy, so I smiled at her tightly without breaking my stride, but she was determined to chat. She greeted me and gestured at my cane, and then she made the comment which I have come to know as both the most common and the hardest to respond to. "Honey, I hope you feel better." And because I don't have a lot of grace left at that hour of the evening, a response fell out of my mouth before I could think about it, and I said, "Actually, this is forever." She looked a little bit stunned, and then she frowned sympathetically and offered an "I'm so sorry." And I nodded and I changed the subject, but in my head, what I wanted to say was, "Don't be sorry. I'm not. I like my cane. And I like my life. Yes, I like my life, but would I be happy if I woke up tomorrow and my pain was gone and all of my joints worked? Well, obviously, I would be ecstatic. So now I'd like to invite each of you to take a quiet moment and contemplate this question. What is hardest for you to celebrate about your body? What is hardest for you to celebrate about your body? And how would it feel now to entertain the idea that you are your body, and all that your body is, all of it is you? Your brain, your nervous system, and all the structures by which you perceive, respond to, and interact with the world are your body. They're not in your body, they are it. How often, when discussing matters of health, have you heard the mental separation of the mind from the body, from the spirit, unthinkingly tearing personhood into three isolated pieces? So often we consider our physical form like some kind of vehicle that our true selves are driving around in, often with the unspoken wish attached that if we could just figure out how to unbuckle the seatbelt, we could clamber out the window and slide into a different, better, newer, younger, shinier, less frustrating car and drive away into the sunset. In Unitarian Universalism, as cerebral as we tend to be, we could learn a lot from what Catholic ethics professor Margaret Farley refers to in her book Just Love as embodied spirits in spirited bodies. Our bodies, she says, are not purely passive. They're not appendages, not merely instruments for ourselves. They are intrinsic to ourselves. We live our bodies even when we are using them. Unitarian Universalists, in our sometimes fumbling congregational efforts to be inclusive, sometimes seem to send the message, brains welcome, spirits encouraged, bodies, well, could you try to be a little more standard? As though we could leave the inconvenient and unruly ones at home with a babysitter. I first read Dr. Farley's case for embodied spirits in spirited bodies under the most divine of all circumstances. Not in church, no. I was reclining on a padded patio chair, wrapped in a fluffy white robe, poised between a hot tub and a eucalyptus sauna, during a 48-hour emergency vacation to a Reno spa resort during the 2018 California wildfires. It was really quite easy to accept the soulfulness of physical existence in this scrubbed, buffed, and sinfully relaxed state of relief from the smoke-filled agony of the previous weeks. And perhaps it was the blissful environment that opened me up to the lightning bolt of revelation which hit me mere moments later when I sat bolt upright in the spa bed and blurted out, fully God and fully man. For those for whom that phrase is unfamiliar, it's called the hypostatic union, and it is an explanation provided in Christian theology to justify the paradox of Jesus' existence as simultaneously human and divine, mutually exclusive conditions in non-universalist denominations. Growing up, I had recited these words weekly during the Creed in Catholic Mass, but in that spa, for the first time, the idea held real meaning for me. Just as the early Christians struggled to explain and internalize the duality of Jesus' nature, my eucalyptus-steamed brain was wrinkling in acceptance of the fully body, fully spirit nature of every human being. To me, the unity of being an embodied spirit in spirited body implies an inescapably sacred existence. And the sacred is to be revered and respected, right? So a reasonable question arises: how does one revere a chronically ill self? Even in unrelenting pain, I truly do still feel whole. Furthermore, any choices that I make to address my condition medically don't imply a lack of acceptance or reverence for my entirety. I probably don't have to tell you that many people make understandable and incorrect assumptions about my relationship to my disabled body, but it might surprise you to learn that even more people make similar assumptions about my relationship to my transgender body. The most common conversation about my gender that happens with confused acquaintances, beyond "what do you mean non-binary?" sounds something like this. "Oh, I can't imagine. You must be so uncomfortable in your body." Actually, I'm not. "Oh, well, then why would you take hormones? They make me feel more like myself." "But if you aren't so uncomfortable, why would you want to change yourself like that?" Friends, there is no upper limit on wholeness. How many of you at some time in your life have taken on a meditation or another prayer practice? Yeah? Why do you do it? Nod to me if any of these statements resonate for you. It makes me more patient. It makes me calmer. It gives me more energy. It makes me feel closer to God. Did you hate yourself before you started meditating? Now, some of you might have. That's okay. But that's probably not the whole story. Were you unbearably uncomfortable with your state of being before you decided to make that change? Now, I live by the belief that we are all born infinitely whole. We are each of us enough. We are each of us complete, exactly as we are. But there is also no upper limit on wholeness. And my genetic disease hurts. It gets harder every year. It does stop me from doing a lot of the things that I want to do and things that are expected of me. But human wholeness is infinite. And infinity minus 1 is still infinity. And infinity minus 100 billion is still infinity. And every action that I take to more fully express my gender is one step I take closer to God in a universe which is saturated and permeated with God's self. I must never stop acknowledging. Without my disease, I wouldn't be in this church. I would not have had a reason to hear my call to ministry. I would not have met my partner in love. I would never have learned to play the piano. And without my gender transition, I would never have wept for joy the first time that I opened my mouth to speak and I heard my real voice for the first time. I am living the only life that I have available to me, and the finality of that is synonymous with creation. So do me one last favor. Recall for me whichever thing about your body it was that you identified 10 minutes ago as being hard to celebrate. I want to say to each of you, personally, that I am grateful for that part of you. Because in your flaws and in your wholeness, through the depths of your struggles and the heights of your triumphs, you have created the person that sits in this room today. You are each fully flesh and fully soul, wholly broken and wholly well, and I am in awe of you.
Please rise in body and or spirit as we sing number 10 in your gray hymnal, Immortal Love. Immortal love, forever full, forever flowing free, forever shared, forever whole, a never-ending sea. Our outward lips confess the name, all other names above, but love alone knows whence it came and comprehendeth love. Blow winds of love awake and blow the mists of hate away. Sing out the truth divine and tell how wide and far we stray. The letter falls, the systems fall, and every symbol wanes. The Spirit overseeing all, eternal love remains.
Our benediction today comes from the words of Reverend Teresa Ninan Soto, whose gifts uplift Unitarian Universalism every day. You are not hard to love and respect. Your existence is a blessing. Your pronouns are not a burden or a trial. They are part of your name, only shorter. Your body really and truly belongs to you, no one else. Your stories belong to you. Your joy and complexity are beautiful, however you may choose to tell it. Go in peace and infinite wholeness.
Amen.